In 2008, approximately 2,000 shoppers gathered outside a Walmart in Valley Stream, New York for Black Friday. When the doors opened, the crowd knocked them from their hinges and surged inside. Customers and employees fell while hundreds continued forcing their way through the entrance. A temporary employee was killed during the crush. Records showed crowds had knocked the same doors from their hinges during previous sales. Management apparently trusted that the customers' doors or laws of physics had matured since last year. The bargains were limited, but the warning signs had been available in bulk. In 1996, roughly 300 shoppers waited 5 hours outside a Canadian Walmart for 48 Tickle Me Elmo dolls. When an employee appeared with the shipment, the crowd charged down the aisle. He was knocked down and trampled beneath customers attempting to reach the toys. The employee suffered a broken rib, concussion, pulled hamstring, and several other injuries. Elmo was designed to laugh when squeezed. The crowd apparently believed the employee worked the same. 300 adults converted Sesame Street into a combat sport because a red puppet giggled. In 2009, thousands of women gathered in Manhattan to audition for America's Next Top Model. A smoking car approached the line and someone reportedly shouted that it contained a bomb. The crowd panicked and surged through the street. 6 people were injured, 3 were arrested, and a thief began stealing purses during the confusion. Police canceled the auditions and cleared the block. The show on a dramatic television accidentally staged an episode before the cameras were ready. In 2003, the band Great White performed at the Station nightclub in Rhode Island. Staged pyrotechnics ignited polyurethane foam covering the walls and ceiling behind the performers. Smoke reached the exits in slightly more than 1 minute. The club had no sprinkler system and most patrons attempted to escape through the main entrance. A crowd crush blocked that exit as conditions became unsurvivable. 100 people died. The venue combined indoor fireworks, combustible foam, no sprinklers, and an entrance unable to handle the evacuation. That was not one bad decision. Management had completed the entire safety checklist backward. In 1913, striking miners and their families attended a Christmas Eve party at Italian Hall in Calumet, Michigan. More than 400 people were inside. Someone shouted that the building was on fire, although no fire existed. The crowd rushed toward the staircase. People fell and pressure from behind trapped those below them. 73 people died, 59 of them children. Historians will dispute who shouted the warning and why. The alarm was false, the consequences were not. In 2017, more than 22,000 people attended the Route 91 Harvest Country Music Festival in Las Vegas. A gunman opened fire from rooms on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Hotel overlooking the festival. Some concertgoers initially mistook the rapid gunfire for fireworks or part of the performance. The crowd scattered across the festival grounds while people attempted to carry wounded strangers to safety. 60 victims eventually died and hundreds more suffered gunshot wounds or injuries during escape. The attack continued for approximately 10 minutes before the shooter stopped firing. The festival had ground level security while the attack arrived from a position hundreds of feet above it. In 2013, a massive Final Lap crash erupted during a NASCAR race at Daytona International Speedway. Kyle Larson's car became airborne and struck the protective catch fence. The impact tore apart the front of the vehicle and launched debris into crowded spectator sections. An engine component, suspension pieces, and a tire landed among fans. More than 2 dozen spectators were injured, including some with severe trauma. The fence stopped the entire car while allowing several important sections to continue independently. In 2010, spectators gathered along an off-road course for the California 200 race in the Mojave Desert. Many stood only feet from trucks accelerating over jumps at high speed. One vehicle became airborne, lost control after landing and rolled directly into the crowd. 8 spectators were killed and approximately 12 others were injured. The remote location complicated emergency access and delayed transportation of the wounded. In 1963, thousands attended a Holiday on Ice performance at the Indiana State Fairgrounds Coliseum. Leaking propane accumulated beneath concession equipment near the arena seating. The gas exploded during the show, blasting flames, concrete, and debris into spectators. 54 people died at the scene, and the final death toll reached 74. Approximately 400 others were injured. Investigators found that the propane cylinders had been stored inside the building despite serious safety risks. Officials later faced charges involving inspection failures and negligent operation. In 1944, thousands attended a Ringling Brothers and Martin Bailey circus performance in Hartford, Connecticut. The massive canvas big top had been waterproofed with a highly flammable mixture of paraffin, wax, and gasoline. During the afternoon show, the fire ignited the tent. Flames raced across the canvas while spectators rushed towards the exits. The burning tent collapsed into the audience within minutes. 168 people were killed and more than 700 were injured. The disaster led to major changes in fire safety regulations for large public tents and entertainment venues. In 1958, approximately 1,600 children attend Our Lady of the Angels School in Chicago. A fire started in the basement shortly before classes were dismissed. Smoke and flames traveled up an open stairway and filled the second floor corridors. Students crowded classrooms and windows after their normal escape routes became impassable. Many jumped near 25 feet because firefighters lacked enough ladders for the windows. 92 children and 3 nuns died. The older building had passed inspection but was exempt from newer safety requirements under a grandfather clause. In 1972, thousands attended the Golden West Sport Aviation Air Show in Sacramento, California. A privately owned fighter jet failed to gain sufficient altitude while departing the airport. The aircraft crossed the road and crashed into a crowded Farrell's ice cream parlor at approximately 150 miles per hour. Its external fuel tanks ruptured, sending flames to the restaurant. 22 people died, including 12 children, and 28 others were injured. Many victims belonged to a youth football team celebrating inside. In 1922, hundreds of people entered Washington's Knickerbocker Theater during a massive snowstorm. The building had a flat roof where approximately 28 inches of snow accumulated. During the movie, the overloaded roof split apart and crashed onto the audience below. The falling structure also brought down the theater's balcony and part of a brick wall. 98 people were killed and 133 were injured. By 1893, Ford's Theater in Washington had been converted into a government records office. Hundreds of clerks worked inside the building where President Lincoln had been assassinated 28 years earlier. Construction workers excavating the basement weakened one of the brick support piers. The pier collapsed, causing sections of all 3 occupied floors to fall into the basement. Desk piles, flooring, and workers crashed together in an enormous pile. 22 people died and at least 68 were injured. In 1918, approximately 650 passengers crowded onto a Brooklyn train during the evening rush hour. A transit strike had forced the company to place an inexperienced dispatcher behind the controls. The train approached a sharp tunnel curb designed for approximately 6 miles per hour. It entered the curb at an estimated 30 miles per hour. Several wooden cars derailed and were ripped apart against the tunnel's steel supports. At least 93 people died and hundreds were injured. The disaster became the deadliest subway accident in New York City history. In 2003, shoppers crowded a farmer's market on a street closed to traffic in Santa Monica, California. An 86-year-old driver struck another vehicle before crashing through the market barricades. His Buick traveled approximately 750 feet through vendor stalls and pedestrians. 10 people were killed and 63 others suffered injuries ranging from minor to serious. The driver said he had pressed the accelerator instead of the brake and could not stop the vehicle. He was later convicted of vehicle manslaughter but received probation because of his age and declining health. In 1981, hundreds of guests gathered inside the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Kansas City for a dance competition. Spectators filled the suspended walkways overlooking the hotel lobby. Without warning, 2 skywalks collapsed onto the crowded atrium below. Concrete, steel, and hundreds of people crashed onto the dance floor. 114 people were killed and 216 were injured. Investigators traced the disaster to a flawed design change during construction. In 1908, more than 300 children attended Lakeview School in Collinswood, Ohio. An overheated furnace ignited exposed wooden floor joists beneath the front staircase. Flames quickly blocked the main entrance and filled the building with smoke. Students rushing toward a rear exit became trapped inside a narrow vestibule. The growing pile of bodies prevented the doors from opening completely. 172 children and 2 teachers died.